Welcome everyone to Life Beyond 6 Feet. I'm Damien from RKB Paranormal, and this week I have a very special guest. I have my good friend Lee Pig from Medics4Paranormal. Lee, welcome to the show, buddy.
Hey, Damien, thanks for having me here.
Of course, I've been wanting to get you on the show for a whole minute now, and it's finally worked out. Um, for those that don't know, I met Lee. I guess it was April of last year at an event at a little old place in Gallatin, Tennessee called Rosemont. And I'm not very big on public events, but my stepson wanted to go to something, and so I took him to this event. Medics4Paranormal was hosting at Rosemont, and he had a blast. And I met Lee, and I met our good friend Eric Freeman Sims that night too. And talk about that experience that night, because I know you really got a kick out of some of the stuff Jake was capturing.
Well, I mean, it was a really good active night. It really was. I got to meet a lot of wonderful people that came all over. For those of you that don't know about Rosemont, they were famous for raising thoroughbred horses. It wasn't like a slave plantation or anything like that. One of the best EVPs was actually caught that night, and I wish I had it uploaded to play it, but it was of an actual horse weenie.
Yeah.
There ain't been a horse on that plantation or on that house property in 20 years. But sure enough, it's just like it was right outside the wall that we were at. Do you remember that? You were in there.
Yeah, I remember playing it. That was some crazy shit, man. That was one of the coolest things I've ever heard.
Yeah, it really was. We was investigating in the office of the owner of the place. It was Mr. Guild. I believe it was Mr. Guild, right?
I think so.
Oh,
yeah.
So anyway, Joe Con Guild, and your stepson, he was actually sitting at his desk in the office. We had set up a flashlight, and it was pointed right at him, and all of a sudden that flashlight lit up, and it illuminated him. So we started interacting with the flashlight a little bit, asking questions. Joe Con, do you enjoy somebody being at your desk? Well, no response. Do you want him to get up out of your desk? It shines up and lights on him. And at that point, he gets up and he walks away. And that was one of the funnest little incidents that I ever had in there.
Right. And I remember we was in I think when you first walk in, you had the big open area right there. Yeah. And you were doing the flashlight test again, and Jake had kind of crouched down just to kind of video it. And you said something about that time that flashlight went rolling off the table, and he was like,
that thing took a nosedive off of there, is what that done. And it scared everybody in there because it echoed throughout the room, and the flashlight was still shining.
Yeah.
But
he talked about that night for about 2 months after that. Just how much he enjoyed it, and he's been with us a couple of different times after that. So, how did you initially get involved in Rosemont?
Rosemont, it was through Eric Freeman Sims. He actually knew the director at the time, and he actually asked if we wanted to come up and do an event. So we actually agreed to. Went up there and met Eli at the time, and things just kind of come together, and we ended up, planning that event that night.
Right.
It was right after COVID. It was really hard to sell it out, but it's kind of like if you build it, they will come.
Right.
So we set it up and everybody came in. It was a great night. I never heard one bad thing about it. A lot of people had activity. And, talking about that night, something else that I found very interesting during in between the investigations, you would have these people, they'd be outside smoking, outside the restrooms or whatever, just getting a breath of fresh air. And more than one, I know of two, looked at me, where's the closest horse? I heard a horse off in the background. And they're actually, and like I said, the fact that the place actually raised the horses was impressive. And there's a lot that's actually in behind the house. They say there's a lot of dead horses buried there. So I mean,
wow.
Yeah. So
that, like I said, that horse EVP you called, I think it's probably one of the coolest things I've ever heard. So
I really wish I had that uploaded though.
Well, anybody that is interested, I think it's on your Facebook page, right?
It is. Medics4Paranormal, and Medics, the number 4 Paranormal.
Right.
So,
right. So we're going to go ahead and backtrack a little bit. I kind of jumped the gun there.
No, it's all good.
What kind of got you interested in the paranormal? What was like one of your very first experiences that kind of got the gears turning and says, man, I kind of like to chase after this?
Well, it's kind of a story. Growing up, I grew up in a house that had a lot of activity. At the time, I did not know what it was. I didn't realize that it was just kind of a part of everyday life. And it might be something as simple as, walking down you're hearing something walking down the hallway. You look down the hallway and there's nothing there. Like I said, I didn't know Jack from Jack on that. But when I was about 16, a friend of mine, buddy, his name was Jonathan. He was actually up at my house. We were kind of in the backyard just goofing off. My folks were out of town and I was there by myself. And he says, who was in your house? I said, what are you talking about? He said, there's somebody just walked in front of your kitchen window. I said, there ain't nobody in that house. He says, yeah, I saw it. I swear to God, I saw it. I said, well, come on, I'll show you. I ain't going in there, he says. So that's one of the first real, I don't know, things that actually caught a red flag at that point.
Right.
So I kind of, just started investigating a little bit, reading it about it. Then all of a sudden on TV, these paranormal shows start popping up like wildfire.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to jump ahead a little while. I've kind of just done a lot of reading, watching shows, trying to figure out what's real, what ain't. And when I went to work for who I work for now, I'm a paramedic for Metro Nashville Fire Department.
Mm-hmm.
I worked with a lady named Lori Thurman, and she found out that I was into this, and she's been to different ghost hunts and stuff. And she said, hey, there's a public ghost hunting down on Montego Mountain. Do you want to go to it? And I said, sure, why not? I'm off. So we pack up. It was right before Halloween. We were going to camp out. It was at a haunted campground up there in Tracy City.
Mm-hmm.
So we got up there, and it was the one night, I'm not kidding, the night before it stormed. And after that, you know how the weather drops?
Right.
It was freezing ass cold. But so we still did it. We went up there. We had we set up the all the heaters and stuff like that in the tent. But anyway, we went to it's a haunted bakery in there, and they were leading us around. You know how it is on the public investigations.
Uh-huh.
And I caught my first EVP that I actually recall ever getting. One of the I don't know, the host, I guess, that was leading the tour.
Mm-hmm.
He was asking us questions. He's like, if you can interact with this equipment, it's not going to bother you or anything like that. I promise you. And I get a very clear EVP. It says, I'm here.
Nice.
So something was announcing that. So anyway, the next location was a cemetery down there in Tracy City. And I set my EVP recorder, my voice recorder rather, up on a headstone. And they started doing, a lot of things. And I was just going to record the whole entire thing and decipher it later. So anyways, then it's on the headstone over here to my left. Over here to the right, they are actually trying to get an EVP capture, which they did. I forgot what it said, but they got one. And then all of a sudden, this lady, it was behind me. I heard something hit. And this lady behind me, she says, what was that? And she looked down, and there's a voice recorder on the ground.
Huh.
So she reached down and she picks it up, and I said, that's my voice recorder. And there wasn't nobody over here by this stone. Something, and when we went back to listen to it, and you can hear it slid across that rock, that headstone, and you can tell it had some force behind it.
Right.
And when it hit the ground, it actually hit the stone of another marker.
Oh, wow.
So I guess after that weekend right there, that's when I'm like, you know what? I want to find out what this was. I want to find out what we're dealing with, see what's out there. So that right there, I know it's a long story, but that's really kind of how I got into where I'm at now.
Right. And so where you are now, with the name of your team, Medics4Paranormal, you've obviously had that connection with the paramedic field. So how did you kind of incorporate that? Did you kind of just say, you know what, I'm a paramedic, this is what I'm going to name my team? How did you come up with the team name, and how does that come about?
Well, whenever I first came up with the team, I did it with Paula.
Uh-huh.
I'll tell you more about her in a little bit. But anyway, so we figure, okay, we are paramedics. We help people throughout the day. We go into people's homes. We do whatever we got to do to help them out at their worst time.
Right.
And why don't we just incorporate that into the paranormal? So we come up with the name Medics4Paranormal, and our logo is working with the living and the dead.
Right.
So we all paramedics have had some paranormal activity actually on the job, which I can tell you about that in a little bit. But anyway, so initially we had 4 members in my team, and we were all medics. So it just kind of made sense. Medics, 4 members, paranormal.
Right. Well, now I understand the 4. Okay. And
yeah, we started out with 4.
Right. And I remember you at one point telling me about some kind of experience you guys had in like the ambulance house or something.
Well, the first time that I actually investigated with Paula, we were working for an ambulance service here in South Nashville. That ambulance company, about a year prior to me starting there, they had an ambulance that had a fatal accident on the interstate.
Mm-hmm.
It had veered off the road and hit a T-Dot truck, and they said that I don't remember what they said the cause of it, but the paramedic and the patient in the back, they perished in the accident. So they took that old ambulance and they put it in an old wash bay over at the ambulance service and sealed it off, and it sat over there for over a year. So Paula said that, she was a supervisor at the time, so she kept saying she heard noises and things like that. So I thought, you know what, it's a voice recorder. I'm going to bring a voice recorder and stick it in my pocket. And at that night, we actually tried to get an EVP
Hmm.
at the ambulance service. That was the first time we ever probably investigated, her and I,
Oh wow.
and we didn't catch anything. But you know, we
Right.
tried, and it was
Right.
fun.
Yeah. I mean, it's worth a shot, and you never know. You could go back there one day, and you could capture something kind of mind blowing. So you never know.
Well, you know what I say? It's all a big fishing trip. You know, you're going to go out, cast your line, you're going to catch something or not.
Absolutely. And you said you've had some experiences while you've been working. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Well, just okay. For example, not too long ago, I went to a house. I forgot what the reason was, but anyway, I walk into the house. There's tarot cards laid on the table, the coffee table. There's candles lit, and this woman, she's having some kind of episode. I don't remember if it's chest pain, breathing problem, or what.
Hmm.
But walking into the house, there's no air conditioner on, and I check that. You know, I'm trying to debunk anything.
Hmm.
So there was no air conditioner on. It was in the midsummer. It was about 85, 90 degrees out there, and it was freezing ass cold in this house. And there was candles were like blowing, like, you know, the flame was just kind of, you know, moving,
Hmm.
but there was no source of any kind of air movement. So it's that moment whenever you feel something come up on the back of you and it breathes on the back of your neck or something, it makes some hair stick straight up. That was one most definitely. So we kind of got out of there in kind of a hurry because we didn't know exactly what we were dealing with, you know, whether it was going to be anything dark or anything what she was into.
Hmm.
So that was probably one of the first ones. I haven't really seen anything, but I will tell you, since I started working at the fire department, some of these fire halls, they're pretty active.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'll tell you about the first time they're actually using SLS camera, the static light sensor.
Hmm.
So I built it myself, and I ordered all the components for it. And I was working in South Nashville one night, and it was about 18 degrees. And I thought, you know what? I just got all this stuff. I'm going to take it with me. Maybe we're not going to be busy, and I'll get to put it together. So took it out to the fire hall, and like I said, it was about 18 degrees. I think we ran 2 calls that night. Well, the captain there, his name was Bubba Owens, really, really nice man. He asked me, he said, if you don't mind me asking, what are you building? And I told him what it was. And he's like, that is pretty awesome. He said, me and my wife have been to Thomas' house. Me and my wife have been to investigations at other places, and that's just fascinating.
Hmm.
So he sat out there and we talked about the paranormal because, you know, everybody loves it. And I love talking about it. I'll talk about it all day long.
Right.
So I got that SLS put together and fired it up. The first thing that we saw right in front of the camera was his car, you know, his captain's car, and beyond that was nothing but a white cinder block wall. Up on that wall, there sat a figure. I said, Bubba, come over here. Look at this. Are you seeing this? And he's like, yeah, what am I looking at? And I said, look right here. And I pointed to he's like, who is that? I'm like, I don't know who that is. But, you know, let's play with this a little bit. So we started talking to the stick figure, you know, and ask it to wave and it would throw a hand up and it'd go back down. And like I said, it was just like it was sitting up there. And there was no way that it could be a false positive because, I mean, it wasn't nothing but a blank wall,
Right.
just a white cinder block wall. So Bubba decides he's going to walk around the car and go over there to it. Of course, you know, it's gone. We can't find it.
Hmm.
So after that, we took the camera, went all around the fire hall, and never did find it. So I had this idea when we was back out into the bay, and I said, let me go get my partner. Her name was Anna. And so I went in there and I said, Anna, if you're not scared, come out here. I want to do a little experiment. So she came out there and I told her what I was doing. Of course, she was fascinated by it as well. I had 3 chairs set up out there where the camera was pointing, and I still got the video of this, and it's one of my favorite SLS captures ever. If you look on the video, if you look to the right in that chair, you got the captain on the engine. In the middle, you got Anna. On the left, when I brought out a female, this stick figure comes back and it's starting to interact. And I'm not kidding. He leaned back in the chair, had his leg crossed, and you can see that arm right here, just plain as you can do. He was just back there, just relaxing with the best of him. And like I said, that's a video I'd love to show you at some point.
That definitely sounds pretty cool, man.
And
And
as I kept, and let me say this too, and as I keep going on, there's people at other fire halls. They're like, "Why don't you come out here and see what's here? There's something here." So I guess
right.
the point of all that, and I'm sorry to drag it out, but the point of all that, these ambulances that we run in, Damien, they see the worst of the worst. They see the
Hmm.
death, they see the birth, the trauma, the sickness, and the heartache. I mean, how can these vehicles not have some kind of energy attached to them?
Right. And it's kind of like in some cases it's more or less a traveling haunted attraction in a way,
It
you know.
absolutely is.
And maybe one of these days you'll get lucky and just be kind of sitting around on a slow night and capture something in one of those ambulances or something, man. That'd be some cool stuff.
Well, I try it every time I go somewhere. Like I said, they've got to have an energy with them. They do.
Oh, I'm sure. So,
And you go back to the fire hall, open the door, and does it escape into the fire hall, or what is it?
right. So when did you initially decide to actually start your team? I know you said you kind of started it with Paula. So like, how did that come about?
Well, in 2019, see, it was right before COVID. Whenever I went down on Mount Eagle Mountain, so after I got back, I kind of started doing my homework as to what it would take to do an actual investigation. I started looking around, started purchasing a little bit of equipment. Then I thought, well, I want to try this. I want to actually build a team. So I went to Paula, and she agreed to start it with me. So we did, and she told me, she's like, well, I know this guy named Connor. I worked with him. He wants to be actually do it as well. Then we come across Eric. We've known Eric for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
We actually worked with him at the ambulance service when we first got started. And so we decided at that point we were just going to come up with a team. Well, it wasn't really considered a team at the point. It's just us going to have a good time.
Right.
So the first investigation we actually went to as Medics4Paranormal, we went up to Thomas House Hotel up in Red Bull and Springs. So you've been there?
Yep.
I mean, that place is awesome. I love it. So we actually went up there and we got some of the best activity that I've ever gotten. For example, the REM pod sitting on the bed. We actually, Sarah in room 37, we brought 2 little baby dolls. They're like twins. We set them on the bed. We put the REM pod up beside it, had the little cat toys everywhere. And she responded. I really think she appreciated that. I'm sitting across the room and I've got my cell phone. My cell phone's my favorite piece of equipment. It really is.
Right.
Because it can do so much. And I'm sitting here and I'm filming over there, and all of a sudden the REM pod starts going off. Well, Paula, she looks over at the REM pod and she's like talking to Sarah, and the REM pod stops. And as it stops, you see this orb, and I'm torn on orbs, but it came right out of the REM pod, came right over and went over my left shoulder, and that's on video as well.
Nice.
Yeah. So, like I said, I'm torn when it comes to orbs, but that one I have no doubt whatsoever.
Yeah. See, I've been to the Thomas House once, and it was during one of the events, haunted weekends or whatever they're called.
Ghost hunt weekends.
Ghost hunt weekend. That's it. It was one of their events, and my mom and my stepfather went with me, and that was the room that they stayed in. And when I told my mom that was supposed to be like the most haunted room, of course she was kind of like, oh shit, And I was like, well, it's like you wanted to go, and it was unfortunately the night we went. It wasn't a very active night. We did have some really weird shit happen when we was in the church across the street. So that was probably our most active area, was the church. But
yeah,
I definitely want to go back, and my wife's been dying to go. We actually had planned on going there just to spend a weekend there here a couple of months ago when some stuff fell through and we weren't able to go.
Well, back in August, we actually had an event up there. I'm not sure if you're aware, but we had a 2-night event up there, and we sold out.
Yeah.
We were only going to do Saturday night, but we had sold that out within 24 hours. So we're like, okay, we got to do something. So we backed up and did a Friday night as well.
Right.
We joined up with Regina Blatt and her team, PPF Investigations, and we had one hell of a good weekend.
Yeah.
The church is amazing. I hate that it's so run down you can't go in it anymore.
Oh, really?
I mean, yeah, it's like the building is coming down on itself. I know that the Cole family that owns Thomas House, they tried to get some estimates on what it would take to rebuild it, and it was just like way out of the price range.
Oh, man.
So we did go over to the church during one point of the investigations, and you could see through the door. There was a crack about 3 inches wide. You can actually see in there. You just can't go in.
Right.
So to get a response, this is actually pretty cool. Everybody that was out there, we had 2 of the groups out there. We kind of semicircled around the church, and we actually sang Amazing Grace.
Oh, wow.
We joined hands, we sang Amazing Grace, and all of a sudden, the guy that was actually looking, his name was Caleb, he was actually looking in the door, and he's like, oh, Caleb, what is it? Something just walked across the room. I just saw a shadow. As Amazing Grace is going on. So,
wow,
that place is just amazing. But something did happen that weekend that broke my heart, and I just want to like to send a shout out to the Cole family on this. They are the ones that own the place. The owner, the matriarch, Miss Evelyn Cole, she had just got out of the hospital and she was at home. So she came out on Saturday night and she sat down. I don't know if you met her when you were there, but
I can't remember if I did or not.
Super amazing woman. So she had come out and she had dinner with her group, and that was had a lot of fun, and she was having a good time. Well, the following morning, I'm sitting out on the front porch and I'm smoking a cigarette. Then Regina, she comes out and she said, "Hey Lee, come in. It's Miss Evelyn." So I went in there, and Miss Evelyn, she was, you could tell that she was really disturbed. She was, having trouble comprehending some things. And me and a couple of the other medics, we went over there, to actually talk to her, trying to find out what's going on. So I told her son David, I said, we need to call her an ambulance. So he's like, please do. So we called her an ambulance, and she come over there, and I wheeled her out to the front hallway, the front parlor, or just the front hallway.
Hmm.
And they brought the stretcher in, and I said, Miss Evelyn, I said, I want to help you get on this stretcher, and they're going to take you to the hospital and check you out. So she threw her arms around my shoulders, and I put my arms under hers, and we
Hmm.
stood up. And I went back to look at the video later, and you can just see her leaving this right here while
Hmm.
her arm is around me. She just patting my back. Put her on the stretcher, and then they took her to the hospital. She was in the hospital for about a week, and then she ended up passing on.
Yeah.
So, and I talked to David later on. He said, "Man, he said of all the groups that we had a group of paramedics up here. Couldn't ask for better."
Right.
But so I wanted to send my thoughts and my prayers out to the Cole family for their loss, because Miss Evelyn, she was definitely one of a kind.
Right. Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about her, and when I seen everybody posting about that, I was like, man, that's terrible. And I remember it being just right after your guys' event. I was like, man, that's mm.
And
And
a couple of my guests, they even asked me, and I wondered about this, if the veil was thin because of her. And it, like I said, we had an active weekend, and could it have been because that veil was so thin? And I never thought about it until somebody brought it up to my attention. Then I got to thinking about it, and that's
you know,
something I love. I love it when people ask questions, get me to thinking.
right, and you never know. And obviously, it was her time. Not much longer after that, and like you said, she might have been kind of experiencing. I don't really know what you would call it, but some of those pre-death experiences that a lot of people talk about, and it may have helped fuel that night for you guys.
Yeah, it could have. It
So,
could have.
and and I know how much that place meant to her and her family, and now it kind of makes me wonder if she's going to still hang around there.
It does. It does.
You know what I
I
mean?
I'm not gonna go calling out for her. Not it's way
Oh,
too soon.
absolutely not.
But
But
if she were to come to me, I mean, it would just like mean the world.
right, and I'm sure with as long as they've had that place and it is interactive as she was with all the groups that came there, it wouldn't surprise me if at some point she doesn't come through for somebody.
Oh, I'm sure. I have no doubt about that. I mean, that was her world. Her family was there, and yeah, you're right. It was her
Yeah,
world.
because they actually live in the building, right?
They do. It's got the two wings on the left and the right. If you looking at the building on the left, it was David and Miss Evelyn,
Mm-hmm.
and then Daryl and Sherry and their family. They lived in the right. So
Right.
yeah, that's their world.
Right. All right. So now we're gonna kind of turn back around and focus back on your team for a second. Now y'all
Oh,
do.
sorry.
No, you're good. It's all good. We kind of steered off for a minute, but that's perfectly fine. That's why I like doing the way I do my show. If we get kind of off subject for a minute, that's perfectly fine. But it's not.
Yeah.
It wasn't off subject per se, but you know what I mean.
Right.
So your team likes to do like personal residences. Why do you like doing personal residences?
Well, because it kind of fits doing like what we do as a paramedic. We go to people's homes, we go in, they invite us in, and they're doing everything that they can to help us help them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I said, it's kind of like helping the living and the dead, because whatever is in the house, if there is anything in the house, we want to try to either help it move on or make peace or say, just whatever the solution's going to be.
Right.
So that's really kind of got how it got started. So me and Paula, like I said, her and I, we were teammates up until this past few months, and I'll tell you about that. We had team members come on board, we had them leave, and we've probably helped. I don't know how many residences we have helped. We helped a couple of businesses, and
Mm-hmm.
and it's been very rewarding. But like I said, just the whole helping, like you do as a paramedic, that's kind of been our catch.
Right. Now, was there ever a time where, say, somebody reached out to you guys and was explaining some stuff, then you were just like, this sounds kind of like conjuring type stuff. I don't know if I want to go do this or not.
I've not come across that yet, because even if it is conjuring stuff like that, we've got resources and we've got people
Mm-hmm.
that can come in to help.
Right.
Now, I'm not gonna, people that are conjuring, in my opinion, it's almost a mistake to make. And I'm not gonna fault anybody for making mistakes. We learn from our mistakes and we move on.
Right.
One could actually argue that using a voice recorder is conjuring as well, but I don't think so. I think it's eliciting.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I've not been like scared or anything to go anywhere, and nothing really gave me a pause on it.
Right.
Now, if I do have something that sounds like a little conjuring or Amityville or anything like that, I do have a pastor friend of mine. I will call him up and I will talk to him before
Right.
I go. And we'll talk about the possibilities and what to expect. And there's been a couple where he wanted me to come and get some holy water just to take with me.
Hmm.
But I told him, I said, I'm good on it right now. So we'll just see what it is,
Right.
And we would go. And so far, we've been fortunate.
Well, see that's why our team's kind of hesitant on doing personal residences because the two or three people that's reached out to us, like the stuff they've described going on in their home, I'm like, man, I was like, I don't know if we're equipped to handle that type of stuff, and it's another one of those things. Another reason we kind of don't want to do it. One for that reason, because like I said, if it's some real demonic shit going on in the house, I was like, I don't want to bring that stuff home to my family.
Of course. Absolutely.
But it's also one of those things. Say, even if it's a mild case of a haunting, and we go in this house and we're in their house, 5, 6, 7 hours, and we capture absolutely nothing, right?
Hmm.
And then we turn around and tell these people, hey, we didn't capture anything. Are they going to sit there and think, okay, well, maybe I'm just crazy? Like, how would you handle that if that's happened to you guys? How did you handle that?
Well, we would sit down and we would actually tell them about any evidence or a lack of, and we would just explain to it, the spirits, they are once people, hopefully, otherwise you are with the demonic. Pardon me. We would tell them the activity was not, there for us. It's not saying that it's not haunted. I
Right.
said they may respond to you a lot more than they do to us. They don't know us. They don't know us at all.
Mm-hmm.
And what I tell a lot of people on an investigation, usually we'll have to go back a second time because it's almost like we have to build trust with the spirits that are there. They have to learn who we are. They're gonna be sitting over there and be like, "Oh Lord, we got strangers. Let's go do some ghost shit."
Right.
But like I said, it's a building trust. But I tell people, I said, it's not that it's not haunted. It's not saying that the activity is not there.
Mm-hmm.
They just may prefer you as to us.
Right. And see, and if that's another thing that it in my head, like I know that would be like the right thing to say, but at the same time, I kind of put myself in their shoes and I'm still thinking, okay, maybe they don't believe me and I'm just going nuts. So that's why we're kind of on the fence about doing personal residences. And we've talked about it. And, I've told you, we've done my grandmother's house a few times, but,
Yeah.
at the same time, it's somebody we know and she's going to believe us no matter what we tell her. So, and say it's somebody that's we've never met before. And they're like, oh, well, these people are full of it. I know what's going on. It's just one of those things that's always been up in the air for us personally
Well,
as a team. So,
well, working as a paramedic for a long time, we get calls from a lot of people who are full of it.
right.
They call out just because of the stupidest reasons that you're ever going to imagine. It's too early for that, Damien. So anyway, so it's kind of like that with the paranormal. I mean, you got to take everything with a grain of salt until you actually get in there and experience it yourself. I'm not
Right.
going to call anybody crazy. I may think to myself, "Good Lord, these are some wild ass tales."
Right.
But what's going on with them, it's real.
Hmm.
Whether it's just in their mind or in their, just in their head, it's real to them, and that's what I try
Right.
to remember. Because even like these people that call 911 because they've got a hangnail, which I've had that
Hmm.
happen,
Oh man.
it's real to them.
Hmm.
The crisis.
Right.
So I don't know if that answered your question or not.
It did. It did. And so you've been one of the many people that's told me not to investigate your own home. Why do you abide by that rule?
Because if the home is peaceful, leave well enough alone. First of all. Secondly, you might have to be prepared. If it could be a family member or anything, and you're going to have to make your own peace with that.
Hmm.
Thirdly, if you were to go in and investigate your own home and you ramp up activity, then there you are sitting in it. So, like I said, it's just more of err on the side of caution and just precautionary measure and nothing else.
All right. See, here's where I've kind of always been kind of on the fence about that. See, your answer is kind of the same as a lot of people I've asked. How was it different, say, if you come in and investigate my house as if I'm doing it myself? Wouldn't that be like the exact same thing kind of getting stirred up?
Yeah, it would, but you would also know that you didn't do it. You're not going to have your wife blame you or so.
Well, I mean, we haven't listened to that rule. We've investigated our
And
house quite a
something
few
else,
different times.
you're going to have actually a special bond with that house. That is your
Hmm.
home. That's your safe space.
Yeah,
That's your domicile. So that's the place where your family is safe.
right,
And if anything were to change, you don't want to be responsible for that.
right. And nothing bad's ever happened here, and that's why we kind of, nothing really seems out of the ordinary than what normally does happen before we
Hmm.
investigate it. It's constantly just, knocks, or we'll hear whispers here and there. I mean, it's knocked stuff off the wall a couple of times and slapped something off our counter, and but it's never been anything to we're like, okay, we have to move now.
Right. That's just a typical day in a investigator's house right there.
Right. So, and before I even came along, before I met my wife, she said there was kind of stuff kind of happening here to begin with, but she said it kind of amped up a little bit when I came into the picture. So it's kind of one of those things. She's like, well, maybe something came with you, then just kind of added to this. And I'm like, well, maybe, but
It absolutely could have. Absolutely could have.
because,
Like I said, it's to me, it's just a personal thing, that you share with your house.
right.
Like I said, if it's not bothering you, leave well enough alone there.
I mean, it doesn't bother us. We just want to know who it is, more or less.
And a lot of people that I will tell this to, Damien, is a lot of people they're going to try to pull out the Parker Brothers Ouija board.
Oh
They're
no.
going to try to lot the count. A lot of people are going to try to contact the wrong ways.
Hmm.
So I never. That's another reason I'd never provoke to do your own house.
Yeah, we don't do the Ouija boards or any of that stuff. When we simply sit down, turn a recorder on, and say, "Who are you?"
Same, same. Now I
So
do have a Ouija board in my front closet. When I was younger, I was stupid. I bought one. I tried it twice, never got no response.
I
Like I
mean,
said, it's Parker Brothers. The
right,
planchettes glow in the dark.
right,
Take it for what it is. But that thing is still sitting in my front closet. I'm scared to throw it away. I'm not gonna lie because I don't want it to find its way back. So it's
right,
up there. It doesn't bother me. I doesn't bother it,
right.
and
I
life's
mean,
good.
I had one when I was a kid too, and I remember the one time I actually remember using it was with actually who our team's named after. We was using it with Keith,
Yeah,
and we was at his house, and we were young teenagers, so I don't know if like he was moving it or just self consciously I was moving it, didn't realize it, but it was moving, and we were getting answers to our questions. So it was that was one of the only time I ever really played with, and I think my mom sold it in a yard sale or something, but
yeah. Pass that on to somebody else.
right. So, but that's nothing we incorporate in our investigations. So
No, I just like I said to me, just that just opens doors.
yeah.
A lot of people they won't close that door either.
Mm-mm. No,
So
you'll sit there and we'll watch these shows, and they'll bring out the Ouija board, and they'll do their thing. And the one thing my wife always notices is they never close it. They never say goodbye or
yeah,
nothing like that.
exactly,
And she's like, "Oh my god!"
exactly.
so, so how many investigations do you think you've been on since you started doing this?
Oh God.
Between personal residences and like your pay to play paces.
Oh, let's see. That's a hard question to answer. I would say probably anywhere from 80 to 100.
Oh damn! Wow.
I mean, yeah, just and it may not. And let me put it this way: you can almost investigate any place that you're at. I believe every place is haunted
Right.
to a degree. But I would say between residences, businesses, and let me back that maybe 60 to 80.
Yeah,
Yeah, but still,
that's still quite a bit in 3 years.
no, that's not. That's since back in 2013, since the first time Paula and I investigated.
Oh, okay. I was thinking
Yeah.
like when you actually started your team.
Oh no. That's just since me and Paula first investigated back in
Okay.
13 or 14, somewhere in there.
I got you. I got you. So, what's some of your favorite places that you investigated so far?
One of my favorite places always is Thomas House Hotel, and the only reason is because one big reason the family is so good to us. They pretty much open the door to their home and turn it over and says, "Hey, go have fun with it." But they cook us great food and lots of activity usually. Lots of activity usually. So that's probably going to be my number one spot.
Hmm.
I've done Octagon Hall. One of the best places was actually the Washoe Club out in
Yeah.
Nevada.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that one was pretty epic.
Yeah. I was super jealous when you told me you guys were heading out there with
I know that's why I told you.
with Regina with Regina and her team, I was like, man, that's some shit right there. I was like,
Oh,
that's awesome. And even if it wasn't an active night, just to say you've investigated that place
absolutely. And it wasn't
was
an active.
just,
It wasn't very active. I mean, there was a little bit. I saw a side of Regina that I'd never seen that night before.
oh yeah,
Yeah, this was kind of weird. In one of the upstairs offices of the Wash Show, they had an office, and they said that the ladies of the night, that's what they called them. They say if you call them hookers, you call them prostitutes, you get a bloody nose. So we played it safe.
right.
Well, one of the madams, I guess you would call her, I'm not sure, that her name was Miss Julia, and she would actually set the gentleman up with the ladies of the night. So we walked into the office, and I'm sitting here talking to Miss Julia. I'm saying, Miss Julia, I'm here. I need to set myself up with a couple of ladies. All of a sudden, Regina, she looks at me, and I have never seen this look into her. I don't know. This scared me. She pointed her finger. She said, "He is lying." I said, "What?" She said, "You're lying." She was dead serious, dead angry, and ready to out me as lying about wanting these ladies of the night.
Wow.
So Paula and Leah, they actually kind of, I think it was Leah, but they actually kind of shunned her to the door, I guess. We go outside and we're like, Regina, what happened? She's like, I have no idea. She says, what happened? And I don't know. It's almost like they just went through her to point me out as, not telling the truth on it. But the look on her face, I won't forget it. I mean,
That's crazy.
it was not like it wasn't her. I know that it
Right.
wasn't. And ever since that night, though, I investigated with Regina, and I think a lot of her. I respect her so much as an investigator, and it's almost like her and I are just kindred spirits whenever we investigate together.
Right.
And it's great when you come across that and make that connection.
Right. So you're Adam and she's Amy, huh?
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
There you go.
I suppose. I never thought about that. That's good.
There you go. So what's some places that's on your paranormal bucket list that you want to hit up at some point?
Well, the one that I would love, and I would probably get my right arm to do, is Tennessee State Penitentiary.
Oh man, that
It is so sad that they're not allowing that there. That's one of the best places. But aside from that, Brushy Mountain is one.
Mm.
I do want to investigate that one. South Pittsburgh Hospital is another one. And oh God, there's one in Virginia or West Virginia. It was St. Albans.
St. Albans, yeah.
Albans, yeah. That one, I don't know. That one's just like calling out.
Yeah, Regina said she had a weird experience up there, and
Yeah.
that's a place I've been wanting to check. I want to say it's in West Virginia.
I think it's West Virginia, right?
So yeah, that place is on my list as well. And you talk about the old Tennessee State Prison. That's Josh. My co-founders. That's his number one spot.
Yeah.
And he's like, man, it sucks so much that they won't do, because they could turn that into another Brushy Mountain. They could do so much with that place,
and they could charge what they wanted to there. Yes,
and even with the the portion that got destroyed by the tornado, I mean, that they could use those bricks to kind of make another makeshift building to incorporate into whatever they want to, and still have it as a part of the attraction. So I mean, I wish somebody could convince the state to say, hey, I will sell this to you. This is what I want to do to it. And that place would be a moneymaker, man.
It would. It scares me to no end thinking that it's at risk of being torn down.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be a shame. But yeah, I mean, that's just a few of the places that are on my bucket list. I mean, pretty much anybody says, hey, you want to investigate somewhere, I'm there. Right. Most times.
Well, I know we've discussed, you joining up with us and tackling Brushy Mountain, so we may have to do that next year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, my team's coming back together. We're I say where, it's me. So let me can I tell a little bit about what happened recently?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
All right. Paula Hernandez, we started the Medics for Paranormal. Well, we just got to where we were having different visions and, nothing bad. I mean, nothing bad at all. We're still just tight as ever. We just decided that we just have different avenues that we're going to pursue. So we kind of made a collective decision, we're just going to not destroy Medics for Paranormal, but she's going to exit and just follow her passion, which is another direction of the paranormal. And I absolutely wish her the very best of luck with it. I mean,
right.
We spent a lot of years together, and we're still going to be good friends on top of all this. We're just going to be she's going to tell me about her experiences, and I'm going to be telling her about mine. And, we're just going to take Medics for Paranormal and just move it on up. We're just gonna
Right.
start pushing forward again. Like I said, right now it is just me, Eric Freeman. He's a honorary member on the side. He helps me out whenever I can and whenever he can, and he's been absolutely great with that. I know
Right.
I've investigated with you, like up at the Sumner County Museum,
Uh-huh.
and we worked really well together as well,
Yeah.
Damien. And that's why I'm looking forward to doing, like you said, Brushy Mountain.
Yeah. And I had no idea about that place. I remember I don't remember if it was you or Eric reached out to me about helping out, and I was like, I'm free. I don't have anything going on that night.
You had
I
a
don't.
cold, I remember that.
Yeah, it was about a week after uh we went to Scott County Jail. I had a real bad cough that night too,
Yeah.
and that was my first public event actually doing any kind of hosting one or helping out with one, and I didn't know what the hell to do. And I was like, I've got this really cool video from last weekend if you want to see it. And I remember Eric said when he brought his group up to where I was, he was like, man, everybody wants to see this video. And
That's one of the best videos I've ever seen. Kudos to you for capturing.
man, it's
You
it's
scream like a girl, but
what the hell would you expect of me? It
I
was
was actually showing somebody that video not even a week ago.
yeah, it was.
So
That's one of my favorite places to date, and it's actually been one of our most active locations. So,
and that's actually on a bucket list as well. Eric said something about wanting to go up there, and I told him I'd be all about it.
yeah, it's we went again a couple weekends ago, and it wasn't as active as that first time, but it was still an active night for us.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still combing through everything. Yeah, as you know, the evidence review takes so long, especially when you have very limited time to sit down and do it.
Now I'll tell you, one of my favorite places is actually in Franklin, Kentucky, and no, it's not Octagon Hall. It's Old Stone Jail up there. Have you been
Hmm.
there?
I have. We went there last summer.
I The jail was minimal on activity, but over in the upstairs of the museum, back to where that car elevator is,
Hmm.
right there, man, it was a hot spot.
And see, I guess we just hit it on one of those dead nights because we didn't really have activity in either place. And since we've started doing this, we haven't had very many of those dead nights, but that was one of them. But we want to go back because we've kind of crapped at our style and stuff a little bit, and we didn't really incorporate the jail lingo like we have because Josh works at in corrections, and he's kind of
Mm-hmm.
incorporated that jail talk into places when we go to jails and stuff, and that's really helped amplify activity for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we definitely want to go back there.
Absolutely. So, like I said, we're just getting geared up. Next weekend, I know we're going to talk about that later,
Hmm.
but next weekend is really what we've been focusing on putting our energy into.
Right.
But I want to go back. I want to do another event at Thomas House and bring the people in, especially, to help support the family after Miss Evelyn passed. There's a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
So, and I would love it if you would come up there. I don't know what I can do to get you up there, dude.
Well, the
I
one
even offered to pay your way.
well, the one weekend you had done it, you had planned to do it. It was the weekend of my wife's birthday, and she's definitely not big on the public events, and she was like, I just don't want to do a public event and yada yada. And I was like, I get it. So it it may just end up being me,
Okay, bring it on.
but and you mentioned the Paracon. We're going to get that here in just a minute. I got a couple more things I want to touch on before we get to that.
Yeah.
So, what's the most scared you think you've been during an investigation?
Oh, the most scared. Probably was at Octagon Hall. It was in the basement. One of my co-investigators, we was in the room. I don't know if you've been to Octagon,
We have.
but in the basement where the portal is, one of my
Mhm.
investigators, it was almost like I had to fight him to get him out of there.
Oh man.
Yeah, so he was actually involved in the activity, and he kept trying to go back down to the basement by himself. And it got to the point to where on the second night of the investigation, we just pretty much had to shut it down.
Mm.
It was affecting people, and that bothered me a lot.
Right.
So it was just more or less how the house treated us.
Mm-hmm.
It was even to the point. Well, I don't know how I'm going to put this, but when we was leaving, it was dark. It was foggy. It was in the middle of the night. Like I said, we shut it down. We got out.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else had left me. I was there by myself, and I was down there closing the big metal gates, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I look up in the house, and I'm kidding you not. In the basement, in one of the windows, I see this flash of light. It's almost like somebody. It was like somebody shined a flashlight, turned it on and off.
Right.
as I'm leaving, and there was no car. This was about 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, "Bye, house. I know that's what you're saying."
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that right there, just the way that it affected my team,
Right.
that bothered me more than anything. As far as like being just flat out scared,
Right.
no, but not yet, and it's coming. I know it is,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I'll be
That
the one screaming like a girl. But like I said, when it affects people, that affects me.
that Octagon Hall, man, that is a beast of a building, and it lives up to its reputation as
It
being one of the
does.
most haunted places in the South.
It is.
And that was, my wife's very first investigation. And whatever's in that basement does not like females whatsoever.
No, it doesn't.
And
It
it
doesn't.
it, it flat out was just like, hey, I don't pretty much just told us I don't like women. And so my wife and another lady, they just started their asses upstairs, and we never
Hmm.
went. But we experienced shit, every single room we went into. We heard growling in the nursery 2 or 3 different times. Um, Whatever was there eventually affected my wife and the other teammate with us, to the point where they were having pain in their stomach and their shoulder blades,
Hmm. Yes,
and when we went to leave, I shit you not, man, the Miss Deborah that was over it at the time,
I remember Miss Deborah.
she was like, something's gonna try to get you guys to come back here. She goes, but just keep going. And I kid you not, we punched it in their address on the GPS, and that thing tried to reroute us 3 or 4 times to go back there. And
It, like you said, it's something about it. Bear.
uh-huh.
Whenever we actually went to investigate, I've never been to an investigation when somebody told me, they said, "Bring your firearm."
Right.
We've had a lot of cryptids back in the back. We've had you
Right.
know um, Bigfoot sightings. We've
Hmm.
had portals. If you see like a blur and there's a blue light, don't go near it. Lord knows where you'll end up.
Right. But
But
yeah, and then you talk about the firearm, because they have mountain lions roaming
get
around
mountain
and
lions
stuff.
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the coolest story that they told us that night was about the ghost train. That the people I've seen kind of in behind, and I'm
Yeah.
like,
Oh,
I
yeah,
was, I was like,
absolutely.
I was like, man, that would be some crazy ass shit to see. And so yeah, that's a place we're actually talking about going back to next year. Because like I said, when we went the first time, it was a public event, and it was, there's probably about 15 or 20 of us there, but we kind of got to venture off and do our own little thing.
Yeah.
But we want to go and just actually have the building to ourselves. And like I
The
said,
first time.
we've crafted our style and stuff like that. So we're a little bit more prepared now, kind of
The first
than.
time that I went there, it was a public event. It was during the
Mhm.
month of October, and they have a lot of fundraising events there.
Yeah.
So the room with the big table where everybody sits around,
Hmm.
right there in front of the house,
Hmm.
and then you got the little foyer that goes to the front door. Somebody that night, they swore they saw a white apparition standing in that foyer, and I had no doubt, nothing like that. Well, anyway, went on about our business. Well, then the first night that we were there with Medics4Paranormal, Connor, we're in that room, and he looks and he does a double take. I said, I'm like, what? What are you looking at? He said there was a white shadow in that front foyer. 2 counts, 2 different nights, no relation whatsoever. But
My
I
wife's seen
thought
the same thing.
so. Yeah, so that's right there in that by the front door,
Uh
correct?
huh. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, she didn't actually see it by the front door. She's seen it. 'Cause here's the big table. Then you got the room over here to the left. She's seen it in that
yeah.
room.
Okay,
And
all right.
because I had flashed, I was taking some pictures, and I had flashed, 2 or 3 times, and she was like, "Check your phone." And I'm like, "What are you talking?" She goes, "I swear to you, I just seen it." She said it looked like a woman in white just kind of just walked across the room. And I was like, "You sure it wasn't my flash?" She goes, "No, I seen it after your flash went off." And so of course I checked my phone, and we didn't capture anything. But yeah, she's seen that same
Yeah,
thing.
and I do believe it is one of the originals. Now, I caught a really interesting EVP. We was up in the medical room. It was Paula and I. We were sitting here just doing an EVP session, and one of the responses on who is here with us, we get a name of Craig Williams. So I asked Barry Gone, I said about it, and he said, "Well, that's interesting." He said he's a doctor. He don't ever really come out and talk to anybody,
Right.
but he was the second owner of Octagon Hall,
Oh wow.
and he actually was involved in some stuff I'm not going to go into. Barry did not. Barry said that they don't publicize this, so
Hmm.
I'm not
Right.
gonna betray that. But said that he was the second owner of Octagon Hall, and he was into some naughty stuff.
Oh man, that's crazy. All right, so I got one more thing I want to touch on before we get to the Paracon.
Sure.
Are we allowed to talk about Creep Street Productions? I know you can't
Uh,
give away too much,
I cannot.
but
The best thing that I can actually give away, it's going to be a new kind of concept on something you might see on television.
right.
Uh, go to Creep Street Productions and hit the like button.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna kind of get some more videos that come out,
Mm-hmm.
and Damien, uh, it's gonna be interesting. It's
Yeah.
we're getting a lot of positive feedback on the promos and things that we're actually doing right now, and we're gonna it's gonna be something new, and it's gonna be great.
Right. And like I
It's a
said,
television show, and I'm not going to go any further than that
they
because,
they have released that one little teaser, and
yeah,
just from that, I don't know, minute and a half teaser, it's
that
drawn.
draws you in, doesn't it?
It already does, and I'm like, okay, what are they doing? And I guess the name of it, I guess they put the name in there, the other's side,
Yes, the
and
other side.
I'm like, okay, I was like, I kind of understand the name. I was like, but what is it about? I was like, I can't wait until this actually gets released, and I'm so happy for you that you're getting to be involved in this, and Regina as well, and I'm looking forward to this coming out.
Oh, yeah, believe me, I understand. I am as well. Every time I watch that little teaser, it's just like it
Mm-hmm.
takes you back there. I don't want
Right.
to release the location or anything like that we were at, but it was a location that's on a lot of people's bucket list. I'll put it that
Mm-hmm.
way.
Yeah.
And you saw over the buildings on the teaser, man. It was massive. It was a lot. It
Yep.
was a very fun 2 nights. Met some wonderful crews, met some wonderful people, and I really do look forward to working with them again.
Well, I will say I know the location.
Yep.
And even if I didn't know beforehand, I knew from the teaser. I was like, I know exactly that. I know that building, and it's on my bucket list. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I'm looking forward to more little teasers before it actually releases. So
Well, Regina, she had a little like an intro video that actually was
yep.
released last week, and for the next 8 weeks, every cast member is going to have their own little video coming out.
Right.
So I don't know when mine will be. I don't know if it's going to be this week or, or the last. I have no idea.
Right.
But yeah, go on to Creep Street Productions, hit the like button, see the updates, and show us some support. I mean, because it's gonna be great.
Yeah, and like I was talking to you yesterday, I've actually already got them people lined up to be on the show when it kind of gets closer to being released and stuff. So
oh, absolutely, I look forward to it. There's wonderful people, wonderful directors. The producer out in Texas, she's amazing, and I get to work with Regina.
There you go. All right, October 22nd, which when this is released, it actually be just a couple of days away because we're going to release this a little bit earlier than normal. So October 22nd, let's talk about Phantom Pause and Historic Calls.
Phantom Pause and Historic Calls. It's going to be the first paranormal convention held in Middle Tennessee that we actually know of. It's going to start out small. We're going to look forward to grow. We're going to have different paranormal teams come out and they're going to set up tables. Let's see. I think I know one called RKB. I think they're coming out, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I've heard about that. I've heard about them. They seem pretty cool. So
that's not what I. No, absolutely. Got a lot of other vendors coming out. I know that we've got a few people that actually tell fortune. There's a woman, she can tell the future by, I think it's bones. What it is, it's going to be a convention. It's going to be completely nonprofit. We are going to take every proceed and we're going to divide it up between two different charities. One's going to be a haunted cemetery in Memphis, Tennessee, called the Old Riley Cemetery. It's owned by Jack Brewer. He is he runs it and he's trying to keep it up the best that he can. He opens it up to people when they want, and we're looking to show him some love. And also the other half, we're going to go and to the Senior Dog Sanctuary in Mount Juliet, and we're going to provide them because the little fur balls that ain't got nobody, we want to show them some love as well.
Right.
So we got some guest speakers coming out. I know I forgot his name, and I'm not even going to try to, but I know he has done a lot of research with the Bell Witch. We got Alan Searcy coming out, and like I said, we're going to have about 4 or 5 guest speakers. We're going to have some food trucks there. We were hoping to have some of the senior dogs come out, but that's not going to happen because it's a big deal to get people to come in and bring them out. I mean,
right.
But like I said, it's our first year doing it, first annual, and we're going to be doing it more and more every year. I want to invite everybody to come out. It's going to be from 10 to 6. It's going to be at the Wilson County Fairgrounds. $10 admission at the door.
Mhm.
And then you can make your paranormal dreams come true, or right there. You can come out and meet Damien.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna be there along with my team, minus my wife because she doesn't make appearances. She is gonna be there. She's gonna be get this as an attendee, but
Well, Medics for Paranormal is actually going to be hosting this with Regina Blad and her
Mhm.
team, PPF Investigations.
Yep.
Regina is actually the one that brought it to us with the idea. So thank you, Regina. I want to thank you for that. It's been a hell of a year trying to get it ready, but things are looking better now than they have, and really looking forward to the event. Looking forward to meeting all the people. We've put up some event pages on our web pages, Phantom Pause and Historical Cause on Facebook, as well as Medics for Paranormal or PPF Investigation.
Mhm.
We get a lot of response right there on a lot of potential on having a pretty damn good crowd, and I'm excited. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a good turnout because I know a lot of my past guests are gonna be there. Eric's gonna be there.
Mm-hmm.
Mid-10 Paranormal, I've had them on the show. They're gonna be
Yeah,
there. Um, Apparitions Among Us, they've been on the show. They're supposed to be there. And it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be cool as hell.
I
So.
mean, I'm hoping that it's going to be bigger than what we can handle. I mean,
Right, absolutely.
because
Everything sell out. All the food trucks sell out. Just blow it out of the water.
yeah, I
That
mean, if
way.
I had to, I'll say, hey, Damien, come over and I'm putting you to work, dude.
Right.
So
Um.
no, I mean, it's going to be a good response. I think I'm hoping the weather cooperates, but we are going to be indoors a lot, so
Right.
you know, it's
And
gonna be really really cool. Jack
and
Brewer, like I said, he's coming over from Memphis.
right.
Um, just excited. I mean,
And this is the home stretch, man. It's less than a week away, and
it's less than a week away.
and like I
Oh my
said,
God, it's less than a week away.
it is, and like I said, when this episode drops, it'll be 2 days away. And I've been gathering up some goodies I'm going to give out to people. We got some bracelets and stickers and magnets, and I bought 2 big ass bags of candy today. I'm going to hand out to people and stuff. So we're just going to
I
make
like candy.
we're just going to make a good time out of all of it.
I mean, absolutely. Like I said, we had a few sales, pre-sales on it, but
Hmm.
we decided, you know what, we're not doing pre-sale. Let's just make it. We're just going to go at the door, $10,
Hmm.
and really, really excited about seeing everybody to come out and support us.
Well, like I said, I'm looking forward to it, and I know I've been promoting as much as I can between my personal page and my team page. I've been promoting it on Twitter, Instagram. Um, I tried to contact people to help you guys out to get some vendors in for you. I know I got mid-10 and apparitions among us. I told them about it, and they contacted you guys, and so
I'm
yeah,
a big fan of Mid-10's page. I love seeing their stuff.
yeah, uh, they're pretty cool people. We're actually talking about trying to team up with them sometime next year too. So um, next year may be a big team up between a bunch of teams because there's a lot of teams I want to work with too. So
Nothing like me though.
absolutely not. Well, Lee, I really appreciate you coming on the show and talking about your experiences and everything else and the Paracon. If people want to look up Medics for Paranormal, how do they do that?
Just go to Facebook and look up Medics, MEDICS 4, the number 4, Paranormal, Medics4Paranormal. That'll pull it up right there, and hit the like button, say hi. Any questions? Want to come out and investigate with us? I mean, whatever you want to do.
All right.
So,
Well, like I said, Lee, I really appreciate it. I've been trying to get you on the show for a while, and I know with your work schedule, it's been tough, but we finally got it done, man.
absolutely, and this ain't the last time, I hope.
Oh, absolutely not. We'll definitely have you back on at some point down the road, man.
All right, well, Damien, thanks for having me. I've really enjoyed talking to you as always.
Absolutely. And everybody, we hope to see you Saturday. And I knew I was going to mess up right at the end. I always do it. We hope to see everybody Saturday, October 22nd at the Wilson County Fairgrounds in Lebanon, Tennessee
Mm-hmm.
for the Phantom Pause and Historic Calls Paracon.
First annual, first one.
First annual and not going to be the last.
No, absolutely not. It's going to be a great time.
All righty, Lee. Well, thank you again, and we'll holler at y'all guys later.
All right, sounds good, Damien. Thank you.
Bye-bye.